Hello, everybody.
There.
Glad to have you here because we're just getting rolling here. We've got Arlene with us. We've got all of her team, Cheryl and Lisa and Jen. And of course, we've got Barbara here who's looking after all those techie things because we need it. Welcome to Beyond the Briefcase. I am Sherry Knight. I am one of your co-hosts today, and we've got this marvelous team of women. Isn't it exciting to have all women on, Barb?
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. And so just because this Beyond the Briefcase, we're really reasonably new. We've only done this a few times, Barb. We're learning just as much as the guests that we have on are learning in some of the things that we need to do. But you're with us here on StreamYard, and the whole concept is, what do we do to keep our lives sane? What are the things that have happened to us in life that have made us go, oh my gosh, whatever I've been doing might have worked beautifully, but now there's time to change. I have to make an adjustment. And we've all had those experiences, everybody. So many different things happen to us. I know one time I was in a meeting, and with that particular meeting, my boss was there, the president of the company was there. I was the first woman in 102 years to be on the management team. Interesting. I'm sitting in this meeting, and my boss is relaying my idea. No credit to Sherry.
That's hard.
Put the idea forward. I never said a word. But when we left, it made me go, I need to do something about this. Otherwise, it will continue to happen. So I said, let's go for a walk. We went to a local park and we walked around, and I said, I noticed that you put my idea forward. Oh, yeah, it was a really good one. I said, the next time you do it without giving me credit, I will say something. Never happened again. But the thing is, we have to take that thing that happened, whatever it was, and we have to look at it and go, okay, what am I doing about this? It gave me goosebumps. It gave me butterflies, sick to my stomach, but I knew that I needed to say something. Otherwise, it wouldn't change. And we're all like that. We all have things in our lives that cause us to stop and make a little change. This was a little change. And then there are those humongous things that happen to us, and we go, okay, the kid I was before ain't no more. I am going to be somebody new. So I'm going to ask Arlene, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life and who you are, etc. And then we'll come back to the others, and we'll talk to Barbara too, because she's got great stories as well.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Sherry, for having me. I've known Sherry for a few years, maybe three, 4 years now.
Yep.
And it's amazing how excuse me, we've helped each other and grow. And one of the things that I love about our relationship is that we bounce things off of each other. That's one of our it's a key point to our relationship. And as entrepreneurs, it's very tough to find that community and that support system to be able to, because we are by ourselves a lot of the time. If you don't have a team yet, you have to look outside of your world to find that team. So that's why I've always been reaching out and working as much as I can. I do have a regular 9 to 5. And that's what helps me pay my bills. And what I do for my business, though, is I'm a project manager, first of all. And I like to help people master their project management. So taking and looking at what they do for project management and helping them look at the obstacles that are coming to them and happening to them and keeping them from executing it so that I can help them move forward with it. So, sometimes it's mindset, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's just, regular resources or team members and so on. So it's a combination. And every time I work with somebody on a project, it's something different. So that's what I love about all of that. And today, and can I go into like saying hello to my 3 wonderful ladies that I invited? I was so excited because when you talked to me a little bit about this podcast, I was like, this is a great idea. I'm like, yes. I said, I have my top, I had like my top 5 people that I wanted to ask. And these 3 ladies were in the top 3, and they said yes right away. So I didn't even have to ask the other ones, but which was wonderful. And they're powerhouses in their own right, in their own communities, in their own business, in their own stream of business. So, and that's what I loved about them, and that I have a different relationship with the 3 of them, and met them in different ways. And Cheryl, particularly, I met a long time ago because our kids grew up together in school. So it was one of those things that I've seen her grow over the years, and just been like, she's just rocking it. Okay. Lisa, I met through, a program that I was trying to help build my business. So we met through that. And I'm like, I need to stay in touch with her. She is another powerhouse here. She is just wonderful. And I just loved her energy and her overall, everything that she was doing. And Jennifer, I met in person at a conference, and about a year or so ago, and I just never forgot her. We kind of kept little in touch through chats here and there. How are you doing? How's this going? I have this going and this going. But and seeing each other on social media, that it's like, I'm always wowed by these ladies. So I want to thank the 3 of you for joining me here today on this podcast.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So who wants to go first? One of you, tell us about you.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about you. Let's start with Lisa.
Lisa Brooks. I am a personal chef in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am the CEO and founder of Heart and Soul Personal Chef Service and the Personal Chef Academy, and just this year launched the Black Women's Personal Chef Association. I started in corporate America. I was in healthcare IT for 18 years, and that's 4 of which I had chronic insomnia, back spasms, migraines, and then I had a panic attack, and that was what changed everything for me. The fact that I thought I was dying, the stress had become just to the point where it was time to make a decision. Like, am I going to let this job kill me, or am I going to, have the courage to change my life at 40 years old? And so that's exactly what I did. In 2010, I walked away from that world and decided I was going to do the thing that I love to do. I had no idea how I was going to monetize it, but I love to cook. And God and I had a series of conversations about this new path, and I just had to take a leap of faith. Like, literally, I didn't have any plan. I had no mentor, coach, no one to show me the ropes, nothing. I just knew I had a passion for cooking. I knew I needed to make a change, and even though I didn't know what all the steps were going to look like, I had to take that first step. And that's what I did. Best decision ever. So 14 years into my business, oh my goodness. It's not only just my own life has changed, but so many other women have been impacted, either through my local business, being one of my chefs, one of the team members that I've brought into this industry, or one of the hundreds of women across the country that I've coached into being their own personal chefs, and into their own business. Or who I've inspired to just do the same thing and look inward and see, what about their life, what courage would they need to, to go into a new chapter, to be able to just write it, co-author your own life.
I love that word you use, Lisa, courage, because that's something that sometimes is quite elusive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fear is paralyzing. I think we all know that. And no matter how much you've grown in the area, some new challenge will come into your path that'll scare the crap out of you, right? Like it's overcome this thing, but here comes a new thing that's even bigger and more scary. And I've just learned that if it's in line with my purpose, then there's really nothing that can stop me other than for me to agree with that fear.
I love that. And I love when you said co-authoring. We do have to be the co-authors of our life for sure, to help guide it, because if we don't do it, it's not going to happen.
Right. Exactly. You know, I've always had the internal locus of control. I feel like I have the ability to change my life. I have the ability to make things happen. It's not things happening to me, but I can actually take action, take steps. I can change, things around me. I've always felt that way. Mm-hmm. And so, it's just the one thing. I guess maybe it's blessed to be part of my personality naturally, but it's kind of a faith muscle is the one that has to be exercised. And, once you take a huge leap and you survive it and you realize the worst case scenario didn't happen, and things actually were amazing. And then it's kind of like, okay, let's, I can walk boldly into new chapters, and new ventures. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you're here with us, Lisa. I really am. And let's move over to Cheryl. Cheryl, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Yes. So my name is Cheryl Cooper. I am in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I own a home care company for individuals with developmental disabilities. So I moved from from Akron, Ohio in December of 2011, and I transferred my job, and financially at that time it seemed like decent money. But when I moved here, the more I was here, I was like, I am not making great money. And I didn't care for the treatment of the individuals. I think working in my field or any field where you care for people, you have to put people before money and even yourself sometimes. So the job that I was at, I did not care at all for how the individuals were being treated. And so I said, how can I help myself, but also help them? What's my next move? Because this is not it. And so, I went to my husband, and at the time he worked at a hospital, and I said, hey, this is not working for me. And I had a friend who owned a home care company, and I said I had met with her, and she would walk me through the steps to get started. And at the time, you still have to have a bachelor's degree to get started in this business. However, I did not have a degree. And to be honest, college is not for me. And so I was not going to go get a degree. And so I actually was able to get a waiver from sometimes I've learned that when you work hard at jobs, even the ones you're not going to stay at, people recognize that, and it can help you in your future. Even if you feel like I'm not making what I want to make, I'm not where I'm at. So I was able to go to those jobs and get letters of recommendations and get a waiver from the state of Ohio so that I could start the company. And so I stayed in my job in 2012, but along the way I did the paperwork. And again, I had a lot of communication with my husband to say, things will be tight for a few months when we get started, but he's very supportive. So he said, we're going to do it. And so in 2013, in January, I left that job. And so while I set things up, I realized I don't have any money coming in at all though. So I went to Macy's and I worked in the shoe department until July when we opened the doors. And so we opened in July 2013, and we've just been going and growing since. And we've been able to, of course, help a lot of clients and staff. And now we actually help people start their own companies underneath our umbrella. So
nice.
Excellent.
That is awesome.
That is wonderful. And I've seen it grow, and I've seen her grow, and we'll get more into what I think Cheryl does really well, but it's been amazing to see. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, I need to be more like Cheryl. Sometimes I tell myself, when you have somebody who's just like, okay, to give yourself some strength to move on and to do. I take strength from others and people around me, because you don't always have it yourself, especially when you're not feeling well or not feeling as confident as you should be. So
Yep.
thank
So
you
what I
for
will say really quickly is Arlene is amazing. Do not let her take that away from herself. She does a lot and she is amazing. Another thing that I'm big on is women supporting women in their
yeah,
businesses. And so probably like 2 years, you think 2 years before COVID, I started the ladies
yeah,
night. So
yeah, maybe even 3 years before COVID.
yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe 3 years before COVID, I started a monthly ladies' night. And
Mhm.
it's just for women to come, leave the kids, leave the spouses, just come and relax, unwind. And
Mhm.
but it's great because everyone is in different fields, everyone is in different places in their lives, but
Yeah,
it's great because we can motivate each other and support
yeah,
each other. So even with Arlene saying like when she's down, like sometimes I just reach out to my friends, but each month I at least try to have those ladies' nights where, yeah, you get to have fun and you get to spill the tea, but also we all go over what we're doing in life and how we
yeah.
can support each other.
Right.
And that's really, that's so true. And just to intervene there a little bit, I used to have a ladies' night too. I used to call it the wine nights. So it was very similar to that, but it was when the kids were a little bit younger, and it was really just, even if you didn't drink wine or drink a drink, and I had a friend who didn't drink alcohol at all. I said, well, then bring your Diet Coke and just show up. And we would just unwind and laugh and laugh and laugh. And it's very similar to what Cheryl does, but Cheryl is she takes it to another level because we're entrepreneurs, and there's other ladies there who we encourage, regardless of whatever they're doing in their life, that she takes that part of the evening after everybody's maybe had a drink or two and filled up with some food, and be like, okay, what are you doing? How are you doing? Do you need help with anything? Then we move to the next person and to the next person. Okay, well, make sure you send that email or that web link of what you're working on, and then so we could spread the word for you. So that's one of the differences between our ladies' nights that I think that is so beneficial, because even if I don't feel like going, I'm like, I think I need to go just because I feel better when I'm done there, and it's just fun. It's just fun. You need that. So yeah. Well, thank you, Cheryl. And let's move on to Jennifer. Jennifer, hello, hello, hello. Tell us a little bit about what you have going on.
Hello, hello. So I'm just so honored to be here with you ladies, powerhouses on this stream here. I am a sales coach. I'm a best-selling author. I wrote a book called Sales in a New York Minute, and I teach entrepreneurs how to grow their business and make more sales. I'm also an avid tennis player and now pickleball player as well.
Nice.
It's not an either or thing, guys. It's an and. Okay. So when people ask me like, why did you make the transition from tennis to pickleball? I didn't. I've just added. So now I need more time in the day to be outside and play racket sports, which is like my passion. But anyway, so I'm a sales coach, and I have an interesting story that Arlene, I'm not sure that we've even spoken about this. So around this time last year, my marriage ended, and I was in a business that I was co-running with my then husband, and I had helped build it to a multiple $1 million business. And at the same time of it ending, I decided that I was going to walk away from everything I had built. We had a podcast that had over 3 million downloads. We had some very, very successful courses that I had learned how to launch and build. And I was kind of the mastermind behind the scenes for all of it. And at the same time, I still had my own business that I had always kept and ran, and it was smaller and more of a side thing that I had always put myself kind of to the side to help run the other thing.
Right.
Which is interesting because growing up, my mom always said, as a woman, you need to take care of yourself. You need to learn how to create your own finances, never rely on a guy, always make your own money. And here I am, and everything's tangled, and I'm walking away from a big financial thing that I had built, and decided to start all over from scratch. And it's scary. And when you've done it, you can do it again. And that's the mentality I went into it with, is that, excuse me, I'm just getting over being sick, so I have a little bit of a cough. But when you've done it, you can do it again. And I decided I was going to start from scratch, redo what keep what I loved in my business and redo all the things that I didn't love.
Right.
I'm a former workaholic, so I really related to what Lisa said about just like working all the time and needing to change things. I years ago gave myself adrenal fatigue after literally just working every spare minute I could. And have really figured out how to create a business from a balance standpoint of being able to play tennis from 9 to 11 if I want, and hang out with my friends on the court, and then come in and do my work and do my thing and go back out there and play pickleball, right? And so I live in Charleston, where we can be outside year round because it's not too cold. So it's real nice here. And so I help people grow their businesses, and it was a scary thing to do, to walk away from all of that, but the right thing to do. And sometimes we just need to, gain our own purpose back and our own sense of self-worth, and really be confident in who we are and how we can help people, and put ourselves out there, even if it means starting from scratch and making it happen all over again.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I did not know that. So thank you for sharing it, though. And I think it falls in perfectly with what we're here to talk about today, which is how we need to build ourselves, and how we need to build our businesses, and then still keep that balance with our family and ourselves, because we do tend to overwork. And I also worked in the corporate world, where it was work, come home, take care of the kids, and cook, and then sleep, and then do it all again the next day. Do it again and again. And then even through the weekends, it was because you're just trying to maintain the house without living in a big dirt pile. I myself am also getting over a little something like that. I think we both caught the virus at the same time.
Oh, dear.
Yes, but we made it back, and we're better for today. But thank you for sharing that, and we will be here to support you for sure. Know that I am also here to support you.
Thank you.
And Arlene is a fabulous supporter. You probably already know that. That's not new information. So Barbara, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I mean, ladies, thank you so much. One of the things that struck me was that we are from all over the country. I live near the Chicago area, and Sherry, of course, is in Canada. And yet we're all experiencing similar things. For me, it was when my husband passed away. I didn't expect to be a widow. And when I woke up from my widow's fog, I realized that I had no idea of who I was outside of all the labels that I had put on myself, of being a wife, being a daughter, and then a wife, and then being a mother, and then being a divorced failure. Oh, but then I was a successful wife again. And then I was a grandmother and a business owner, and now I'm a widow. Who is Barbara within all of that?
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that, talk about that moment something has to change. It's either identity or schedule, whatever it is. It's that one thing that's like, okay, what can I do going forward? I had no idea what to do. And that was the scariest moment of my life.
Of course.
And yet now it has led me to what I do now, that work with people who are facing retirement, and they have no idea of who they are outside of their job title and their job description. And it's a scary time for them. They're asking themselves all the things that I asked myself. Will I still be relevant? Will I still be effective? Will I make it financially? All of those things that we've all talked about. And so, and the thing is, I truly believe that it's one of the subjects that people are not talking about enough. Hence, that's why, Sherry and I, part of why we started the show.
Right.
We need to get it out there that there is a better way, that there is things to do. And when we all do it together, it's going to be just absolutely amazing too. And one of the things that I've heard that the Dalai Lama said is that this is the decade of the woman.
Oh,
So let's champion women and what we're doing and making an impact, and that ripple effect that we're all going to have in other people's lives. So thank you, ladies, for being here. I'm so looking forward to this conversation, to hear all the rest of this, to hear the rest of the stories.
That's very true. And Barbara and I work so well together because we each have different strengths, right? And with that, we're able to combine those things and make it work for us. And, Jen, it's interesting because you took me back to a situation I had forgotten about completely. When my first husband and I were divorced, he wanted half my business. And I went, not happening. And so it was very telling in terms of what was important to me, because I wasn't giving up my baby. That was it. The business was my baby, and it was so important. And again, you pivot, right? I have now been in business for 44 years. Love every minute of it. Many years were part-time, and then the full-time element, taking it full-time, it's been a pleasure. It's also had lots of headaches, and you start at something, you make the changes, etc. For many years I was working with corporations. Then my second husband got not well, and so I pivoted and started to work with entrepreneurs, and he's passed away. So now I'm pivoting it again and going, okay, now it's time to get back into the corporate world. So, that whole element about what do you do, what's happened in your life, and what changes do you make? So, ladies, you are amazing. Oh boy. So now we want to hear more of these stories, Arlene. So I'll let you take it away.
Well, I know that, excuse me, one of the things that we were going to talk about today is, maybe I'll give each other a tip on maybe what you have done to help your business or to change your lifestyle a little bit. And for me recently, the main thing that I've done over the last 6 months was start rebuilding my business again. Actually started last year, because I had the business and I stopped. COVID changed things for us here financially at home. So I had to go back into just my 9 to 5 and drop some of my business. Then I'm wanting to rebuild my business again. And then I was refocusing and changing the structure of it, from helping people with their projects to coaching them on it, so that I can teach you some of the skills and think about, everybody has positive and negatives, right? Everybody works a little bit differently. Some people may be more organized than others. So looking at where your strengths are and where you may need help to help you grow, because then it's a system that you would put together for yourself, for not just whatever current project you're working on, even if it's a personal project, even if you're redoing your bathroom, to then whatever things you may do in the future. So one of the things that I did it was very pivotal for me this last 6 months was cutting back on my 9 to 5. I cut back so that Fridays were my day. Fridays were my day to do my business, my personal stuff, and even resting if I wanted to, because I was working my business in the evenings and then on Saturdays and sometimes even partially on Sundays, so that I was only getting like a half days of rest. And I've done this before, and I know that I had a burnout, and I know that I exhausted myself. And because that was 5 years ago, I'm 5 years older than when I did it last time. I'm like, it's hard bouncing back. Every year gets more tougher. So I'm like, I know better to not do that again. So I reevaluated my time and what was more important and what is important to me, because I have 2 girls at home. And one just graduated from college, trying to get her a job. Yes. And, the other is in high school. She's going to be a senior this year. And where have the years passed? What have you done? And this is where I look to Cheryl sometimes, because I'm like, okay, she's gone on another vacation. And my youngest daughter loves to say, Cheryl, when I say that Cheryl went on another trip, she went to Thailand, or she went where she's going in now. And I just heard she's going to Africa. I said, whenever I tell Madison this, my youngest daughter, she says, that's Cheryl. She knows how to live her best life. Cheryl's living her best life. And that's my theme in my head sometimes. Live the best life. Let's try to live the best life that we can, because time is just flown by.
Yes.
So that's one thing that, I wanted to talk about a little bit today on how we may have all done something, not just for our business, but for ourselves personally. And that's what I had done, was given myself Fridays to do what I needed to do, which ideally for my business, because I really want to grow my business so that I can move on into my, I don't want to say retirement years, but to my adult pre-retirement, retirement, still working during that time, because I want to be, you got to keep yourself motivated and be able to do it on my own time frame. Yeah. So Lisa, do you have any things that you have?
I've had to do a lot of work like that too, Arlene, as far as protecting my schedule. I just, it's an ongoing battle, and it's just a fight against myself, because I just constantly overextend. It's a bad habit is what it is.
Yeah.
To constantly overextend, to say yes to so many things, and to find myself pulled in so many directions. And I think at the root of it is like a sense of like gratitude, but kind of, a skewed perspective of gratitude. Like, how dare I, complain about this? Like, I'm so fortunate, I have this, these businesses, everything's going well. And, people ask of my time, it's kind of like this, I guess, a guilt that comes along with, feeling like, is it gratitude that I'm, is this an act of gratitude that I'm, saying yes to all these things, or is that just a lie I'm telling myself? And so I've had to do, I'm having to constantly to check myself, check my balance. My body definitely tells me, my immune system will break down in a heartbeat if I'm out of balance, if I'm not getting rest, if I'm not getting sleep, if I'm not eating right, if I'm not moving my body. So I've just learned to listen to that, to schedule things into my day, schedule whole blocks of time to do nothing, honestly.
Right.
I will schedule time to literally binge watch completely idiotic television or whatever. It doesn't even require any emotional investment or anything. Just simply dating reality shows or something ridiculous, to give my brain a break. I was always on in corporate, always on, always expected to be on. And I think I didn't want to create the same chaos in my business, but I realized, and knowing myself, I have a tendency to do that. I have a tendency to still create, this whirlwind of things that I'm always responsible for. So I create my own overwhelm.
Right.
And so scheduling time, protecting my time, and showing people through no responses, if you email me after a certain time, you won't get a response. If you text after a certain hour, you just won't get a response. That's how I'm going to show you my boundaries. Whereas that's a huge change for me. I used to, just keep my phone, I don't want to miss, a dollar coming in or whatever the case may be. But, I've realized what's for me is for me, and it can come to me during my work.
Yeah. And especially with us being online, because we deal with people in different time zones, different countries. So, you're always afraid that, okay, that person, aren't they in Australia? What time are they in right now? But it's like, no, you can't worry about that. If they're going to work with you, they have to maybe work on your time. And then you can maybe schedule something that's in between on a specific date. And that is one thing that I remember when I first was trying to reach out to you. You had said, here's my link. Schedule it, Arlene. I'm like, okay, well, I'm usually on Friday. You just said, schedule it, Arlene. Look at my schedule, Arlene. You got to look at the schedule. I'm like, okay, I heard you. I gotta get on her schedule.
Right. I'll wake up and see you on my calendar, and I'll know I'm talking
Then
to you.
you know that when you're meeting me.
My own family members, my sisters, are you serious? I have to schedule. I said, if you want my undivided attention for a period of time, you have to put yourself on my calendar.
I love it.
And that's a good habit to have. And I love that you say that you totally veg out. For me, my vegging out is when I get everybody in bed and it's quiet and it's late at night, even though I may be skipping out on a little bit of my sleep. I use that time to totally veg out myself. And, my husband will be like, don't stay up too late tonight. I'm like, oh, no, I won't. And I already know I have like 2 shows I need to catch up on. So it will be late.
Do you know there's a term for that?
What?
That tendency is called revenge procrastination. That's what it's called.
Really?
It's when someone has so much responsibility during the day, and when they finally have time, when the kids are asleep and the husband's like sleep, like when you have that time to yourself, then you probably should be sleeping, but you don't. Like it's like in spite of it, like I'm gonna take some time for myself. So you take it back, but you're taking it from your sleep time, right?
I know. It is. Yes. And that's why sometimes on the weekends I may crash because I'm like I had like 4 hours of sleep for 2 nights in a row. That's just not good.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Cheryl, how about you? Any good tips that you'd like to share?
Okay, so for me, a few years back, I learned how to balance work and family very well. In my personal life, that is something that I balance well. But one thing that I did have to learn is this year is practicing to tell people no. Because I care about everyone around me, and even women I don't know so much that if someone was to come up to me on the street and you 5 have already invited me to an event all on the same day, and I would tell you all yes, I would find a way, and then someone I don't know is like, hey, well, can you also? And I'm like, okay, yeah. So telling people no is something that I've learned. And I still do a lot for other people, but also balancing that. And another thing is for me, I'm kind of the opposite where it seems like some people are overworked. I've gotten more lazy in the years because I did find that balance. So I make sure that I do not overwork myself, or that I take time to myself if I have a moment where I'm like, okay, this is going to sound bad, but for me, over the last few years, I typically will not work more than 25 hours a week.
That's good.
And but the thing is, now when I'm in, my husband and I, we like to travel. So sometimes we go in these grind modes, and that's when we're going to work more because this trip might cost a little more. So when I'm in grind mode, I have to get out of that lazy phase and be like, okay, you're going to work 40 hours this week. You're going to work 35. And then I have to remind myself, like, girl, you are lazy. People you worked 40 hours a week for years. Like, and so that is something that I make sure that I try to do, is not be in these lazy these lazy modes and make myself go to work. But for me, I think I watch a lot of people, and I think because we're all in different positions in life, what we see as success and balance is different for us all. But one thing for me was I moved away from my family, and my husband's family was, of course, here. But for me, it wasn't the same. And so my daughter, when we moved here, she was 4. Well, that's when kids are getting into sports and activities and things. So right around that time when she was 5 was when I started the company. And she's 17 now, but she cheers in high school. In elementary school, she did travel cheer, she did regular cheer, she did basketball, Girl Scouts, all of these things in elementary and junior high. So as a mother, I said, I don't want to miss anything. If I can be a millionaire or I can make decent 6 figures, but I'm going to be at everything my child has. And so I'll say, in all of the sports and everything my daughter has done, probably since elementary school, I've probably not been to an event, probably all together I can count on one hand, from kindergarten until her senior year now.
Wow.
Because I prioritize that with work. And so I learned you can be the wealthiest person in the room, or you can truly be happy. And you have to figure out which one is for you. And for me, my family meant more than the money. So I still need money to survive. So of course, I want to travel, I want to do things. So I had to find that balance. So that's something that I'm big on, is balancing those things. My husband and I, we've been married for 13 years. A thing that we're big on is time with each other. It's finding that balance. So every Saturday night we have date night. No matter what is going on in our lives, every Saturday we go on a date. However, even in between that, last night we went on a date. We went on a date on Tuesday. So whenever we have, and he did leave the hospital. Once we grew the business, he was able to come. So we do run the company together. So it does help, but just finding that balance and prioritizing. You can have $1 million and attend 25% of your kids' things, or you can have 500,000 or 300,000, and you're still happy and you're at everything. So to me, it was finding that balance, that my husband, my child, my friends, I attend everything my friends have, but it's
Yeah.
because I
Yeah,
do.
you do. She does. And that's why when you say that even if you work 25 hours in a week and that you're maybe lazy, no, because those other
I'm doing
20,
something.
30 hours, you're doing something. I don't know of any time that you're not doing something.
I am doing something. So I do, like I said, I try and find balance. So yeah, I
Right.
might work 40 hours in the week. So 25 of that is for my company, but the other is for me to be there for my family, to be there for my friends. And so I might be making t-shirts for them or doing a project for them. The other thing is, as Arlene mentioned, I like to travel. So that is where I find my peace. And I think that's where people miss out. Is it's fine to get money, it's fine to work, but you have to find your peace. And so for me, if I work hard for 1 month and I'm like, okay, we're really putting in the hours, then what we'll do is maybe book a weekend trip to Miami. And we don't do anything. We just go lay on the beach, and it's our refresh, refocus. So I think that's a part that a lot of people miss, is it's fine to work hard, but you have to find, as Lisa was saying, that me time. You have to find a way to step away. So for me, I leave because if I don't leave, I can't stop.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
pack up and I leave.
Yep.
But yeah, just finding balance, telling people no, and like I said, not getting too much into my, yeah, I'm not going to overwork myself, but sometimes I can work a little more.
Right. Gotcha. I love it. And I thank you both. I know Lisa had said something about putting the boundaries as far as always saying yes and overextending herself. And thank you for saying yes to this. And Cheryl, learning how to say no. Thank you for not saying no to this. I'm still on the yes, let's say our yes to Arlene list.
Yeah.
Keep me there. Okay. I promise not to overwork you. But how about you, Jennifer? I know that, with this whole huge transition that you're going through, and you've already talked a little bit about how you're doing your tennis and pickleball. What other things have you done to try to balance yourself?
Yeah, so balance is an interesting concept for me, just simply because I formerly had not been good at it. When I was in corporate, I worked 7 days a week. I would work during the day at the office, and then I would go home and eat dinner, and then I would continue working. And I was the youngest woman executive. I accomplished a lot at age 29 and under. And I was sitting at a board table with the CEO and COO on an almost weekly basis. But for what? I had no life, right? I had literally had no life. And I realized that, this notion of let's make all this money and then retire when we're 60 or 70 years old and then live our life is no longer like the thing, right? Like we all want to live our lives now.
Yeah.
And so how can you build a business, which is one of the things I help people do, is build a business that supports the life you want to live instead of building your life around your business, right?
Mhm.
And so I block out the days in which and the times in which my tennis and pickleball stuff is happening, and I block out travel, and I block out, and from August till May, I'm team captain. We have a match every Tuesday morning from 9 to sometimes noon, and sometimes we go for lunch. And you know what? My business still runs.
Yeah.
Okay. I still order meat from the farm. I still get the things that I want that are important to me in life to take care of myself and pay my bills and live at the beach, literally. Okay, so my business still runs, but I'm just building it and crafting it around the things that make me happy and around the things that I want to do. And also I heard something recently, and it's so true. It's about finding happiness in the journey, not finding happiness in just, the outcome afterwards or the monetary outcome. And Cheryl, you talked a lot about this, how you're having happiness along the way because you're going to all of your children's events and friends' things, and that's so important. And so for me, what I have found, and maybe this is my slant on it because I am a sales coach, but I have found that oftentimes the reason people struggle in business is not because they're not working 40 hours a week, but it's because they're taking the couple of hours a week that they want to work and not doing the right things during that time, not creating revenue, not doing revenue generating activities. And if we can prioritize the revenue generating activities, so for example, I've started a second business called Racket Retreats, and it's a tennis tournament business. And I'm going to do that in 2 hours a day. Okay. But that's 10 hours a week, right? I don't minus the weekends, whatever. That's 10 hours a week. And how am I going to build that? How am I going to I need 88 people, not need, but want 88 people at our first tournament in September. Well, I'm going to do that because that's what I'm focused on, right? I'm focused on getting the people in the seats and taking on sponsors. And so both of those are revenue generating activities. Now, would it be really nice to focus on all these other little things that maybe feel good so I can check boxes, make prettier Canva things and, whatever. Like, those things are great, right? But you don't need all the things to grow a business. They're nice to haves. And I think so often instead of thinking about how we're going to invest the time that we have, we just spend the time aimlessly trying to check off boxes of things that aren't as urgent or important as actually generating revenue and serving your clients.
Right.
And without that, you're really like a wantrepreneur, right? Not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I say that with love, but like a business cannot run on hope, right? It runs on money, right? We all need money to pay our bills. We all need clients to serve to make that money. And so when you think about it as that, it's like, well, why am I doing these 16 other things and not actually doing the things that are going to matter? And so once I started to prioritize those things that matter, and the revenue generating activities, it really shifted everything because all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I can play tennis for 25 hours a week without a blink of an eye. And like, it's fine, right? Like, it's great, actually. It's more than fine. But and I can do the things I love. And if you're listening or watching, you get to do those things too when you prioritize the revenue generating activities.
Yeah. And thank you for that reminder, because I need to remind myself of that sometimes. I get stuck sometimes doing those other little things that I shouldn't be doing. Cheryl, you were going to say?
Yes. Jennifer, thank you, Jen. That was amazing. First off, two things. One, I'm going to reach out to you because I'm in this pickleball thing, my husband and I, and we need new rackets.
Oh, I know a paddle you should get. Oh my gosh, we'll chat.
And the second thing was, I love that you mentioned living in the moment in retirement. I know Barbara mentioned earlier about her husband passing away. And I love that conversation because I think that the mindset of people is always work, work, work. I have to have all this money to retire and then I'm going to do everything. Or people always say to me, like, you're always going. And I always say, like, well, if I'm not going now, like, when am I going to go? Like, it makes sense. I
Right.
have the
Right.
time, I'm going to
Right.
go. And I think the world, and like you said, times are changing, but it was always work, 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 and retire. And when I first met my husband, he was that way. And so we combined and we met in the middle. But the thing is, so many people are working now so hard for later that you
Mhm.
can work now and you and your spouse are saying, well, we're going to move here and we're going to do this, and that spouse is gone,
Right.
or like Arlene mentioned, our kids, they're the same age, that's how we know each other, they grew up together, they're seniors. So I know a lot of people who take so much time not for themselves or their spouse, they pour it into their kids. Well, now your kid is grown and moving out, and now what are you going to do?
Mhm.
Because you're an empty nester, so I think that. And also with kids growing fast, like my daughter, we take her on trips, we travel with her because she is going to be 18 and then she may want to leave, and then soon she'll start her own family. We can't go back and build those memories. And so I think that I love that you talked about living in the now, because I
Mhm.
think that is a lot of why people don't move forward. Fear and, oh, I'm going to get to it, but I have to do all of these things
Right.
first. No,
Right.
you can do it now.
Yeah.
Right, right. And I'm learning a little bit from my oldest daughter, Megan, who, because she's starting into that world of the finding a job, but then she's very much, oh, your generation, all you do is work. You worked all the time, and what are you working for, Mom? You're doing your 9 to 5s, but then you need to enjoy life. I'm gonna work. My generation's gonna stop that trend, and we're gonna just do what we want to do when we want to do it. And I was just like, yeah, I said, easier said than done. It's not like my generation didn't want to do that too. It's, you have to learn how to do it. You have to be shown how to do it. We need to all do it together,
Oh, we have this funny habit. We all like to eat.
right. Right. And that's, I
Right.
do sometimes say there's this house that has to be, right now we have AC in the middle of this heat wave. Thank God that I can afford to do that. But, there is a balance, and I hear her side of it. And I know that she would love to, just like some women, want to be able to marry a rich person and marry somebody who will take care of them. We all have a little bit of that mentality, maybe, but then also I'm the opposite of where my father was one who said, and my mom, no, you take care of you because you don't need no man, kind of a thing. You don't rely on the man. So yes, there's probably a very good in between somewhere, and trying to find that for myself, and then show my girls how to do it. It's a constant learning experience.
Always is, you bet. And with this, the fact that you are taking it and sharing it with your children is always the exciting part, because that's the people who are coming up, and to help them see life in a different way than we saw it is always exciting. I see here Barbara wants to jump in.
This has been absolutely fabulous because, we are all a different age, and yet we're saying slightly similar things.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that is the beauty of it. Why this subject is so out there now, because it hits everybody.
Mhm.
And one of the things, one day I said in a panel that I was doing, I said, ladies, it was a group of ladies, and it was ladies, no is a complete sentence. And this one lady afterwards went, Barb, you have rocked my world. I can say no with no explanation, no, nothing. Just no. Thank you. Kindly, no, no, thank you. That's not something I want to do. But no is a complete sentence. And she was like, I can say no.
And you don't have to apologize for it.
You don't have to apologize for it.
Or explain why. That's
Right.
something I have to always struggle. I'm like, no, because
Yes.
just no. Just
Yeah.
no.
Right.
Makes a big
And I
difference.
think the biggest thing, one of that I loved the panel too, is that we talked around it, but not specifically. Celebrate the things that you do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Quit beating yourself up for the things that you're not.
Mhm.
And that's something that I work with people. Celebrate the things that you are. Quit beating yourself up for the things that you're not or you're not doing, and and get out of the comparison blame game.
Mhm.
So many people do it.
Well,
I think that it's finding positives and negatives.
Yeah.
That's one thing I focus on, and I try and tell people. Some of my friends have been through very tough situations. And they can tell you, even through that situation, I'll say to them, well, what positive happened? Like, or I'll point out something positive, and they're like, you're right. So as business owners or people who want to start businesses or things like that, or even transitioning, I think that's the tough part. If you can find a positive in all of the negative things going on in your life. So for instance, you just get a business, you get a suite, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna love this. And then something breaks in that suite, and you're like, oh, now the money I saved for this, I have to pay for this, and I wanted that for another part of my business. But what I would then say to them is, instead of being upset, someone somewhere wouldn't have the money to fix that. So go back, earn it again, but be thankful that you had the money to fix that so your business can move forward. And so I think if you can find positives, even in the worst times, it kind of makes the process easier.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Well, ladies, this has been amazing. I would love to hear a few more words from everybody, but we're out of time. It has been abundance in terms of terminology and things that people have shared with each other. It's important for us to get out there and let others know that our lives have not been perfect, that it's okay for their life not to be perfect. These are the kinds of things that make a difference. And so thank you all for joining Barbara and myself today. It has been amazing. Thoroughly loved every moment of hearing your stories. It's been amazing. For those of you who are listening, next effort is going to be on July the 5th, and that is another Friday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So think about joining us at that time. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hi, thank you so much.